On the ground, you filthy black dog. Officer Derek Holloway slammed his boot into the back of a 68-year-old man. Aaron Davis, Army veteran, 3 Purple Hearts, 22 years of service. His crime? Waiting for a bus. Worthless trash. Your kind makes me sick. The white cop spat on him, pressed his knee into the old man's neck. Blood pooled on the concrete. Should have stayed in the jungle where you belong, boy. Onlookers filmed. Some laughed. Nobody intervened. They beat a black veteran into a coma that day. But in 72 hours, Officer Holloway would be the one begging for mercy. The alarm clock read 5 o'clock a.m. Aaron Elijah Davis was already awake. His eyes had opened 3 minutes earlier. Internal clock. 40 years of habit. The Army had built that clock inside him. 22 years of service. 2 wars. Countless missions. His body didn't know how to sleep past dawn anymore. He lay still for a moment, listened to the silence of the empty house. No breathing beside him. No warmth on the other side of the bed. Eleanor had been gone 6 years now. Breast cancer, slow and cruel. He had held her hand until the very end, fed her soup when she couldn't lift a spoon, changed her bandages when the nurses went home, told her she was beautiful when the mirror said otherwise. She was the love of his life. 51 years old when she died. Too young. Far too young. Some mornings Aaron still reached for her side of the bed, his hand finding only cold sheets. He sat up slowly. His hip screamed in protest. Shrapnel from Vietnam. 1971. A grenade had exploded 15 feet from his position. 3 of his buddies died that day. Aaron survived. Barely. The doctors at the VA hospital said the pain would never fully go away. They offered pills. He refused. He had seen too many veterans lose themselves to those little bottles. Pain was just pain. He could live with it. The bedroom was small, clean, modest. A row house in East Baltimore that he had purchased in 1987. 32 years in this house. He had painted every wall himself, fixed every leaky faucet, replaced the roof twice. This was where he had raised his son, where he had buried his wife, where he planned to die someday, hopefully not soon, but someday. On the wall hung his medals, Bronze Star, 3 Purple Hearts, Army Commendation Medal, unit citations from Vietnam and Desert Storm. Each one represented blood, sacrifice, brothers lost. He never talked about them, never bragged. That wasn't his way. Next to the medals hung photographs. A young Aaron in his Army dress uniform, crisp, proud, full of fire and purpose. Another photo showed him holding a baby. Julian, born in 1977, 7 pounds, 6 ounces, the happiest day of Aaron's life. And there was the graduation photo. Julian at Harvard Law School, top of his class, valedictorian. Aaron had worn his dress uniform that day, stood in the back row during the ceremony, cried when no one was looking. His boy had made something of himself. District Attorney of Baltimore now, the youngest ever elected, the first black man to hold the position. Aaron was proud, so proud it hurt sometimes. But he hadn't seen Julian in 6 months. Work, Julian always said. Cases, campaigns, meetings. There was always something. Aaron understood. He told himself he understood. That's what success looked like. His boy was busy changing the world. But understanding didn't stop the loneliness. He picked up his phone from the nightstand, checked the screen. No messages, no missed calls. He stared at it for a long moment, then set it back down. Maybe he would call Julian today. Maybe. There was always later. Aaron showered. The hot water helped his hip. He dressed carefully, clean khakis, A button-down shirt, belt, polished shoes. The Army had taught him that appearance mattered. Discipline in small things led to discipline in big things. He picked up his Army cap from the dresser. Faded green. Worn soft from decades of use. Eleanor used to iron it every Sunday. He hadn't ironed it since she passed, but he wore it every single day. It was his identity, his pride, his connection to the man he used to be. Outside, the October morning was crisp and golden. Leaves covered the sidewalk in shades of orange and red. The air smelled like autumn, like change. An American flag hung from his porch. He had put it up in 1991 after Desert Storm. Never took it down. Not once. His neighbor Dorothy Pemberton was already outside, 74 years old, white hair pinned back, gardening gloves on her hands. She was watering her mums. "Morning, Aaron. How's that hip treating you?" Aaron smiled. Genuine, warm. Dorothy was good people. "Still attached, Dot. Still attached," she laughed. The sound was bright and easy. They had been neighbors for 30 years. She had brought casseroles when Eleanor was sick. Sat with Aaron at the funeral. Cried with him. He fixed her gutters every spring. Shoveled her walkway every winter. Never took a dime. That's what neighbors did. "You need anything from the store? I'm heading out later." "No, ma'am. Thank you kindly." "You take care now, Aaron." "Yes, ma'am. You too." He walked down the street, slow, steady. His limp was more pronounced in the morning. The hip needed time to warm up. 2 blocks to the corner grocery. Samuel Wilson owned the place. A good man, honest. He had known Aaron for 15 years. The bell above the door chimed as Aaron entered. "Aaron, right on time." Samuel grinned from behind the counter. "The usual?" "Yes, sir." "A newspaper. A can of Folgers coffee. 1 orange. Same order every day for a decade." Aaron counted out exact change. Dollar bills and coins. He placed them on the counter precisely. He never owed anyone anything. Never had. Never would. "How's that son of yours?" Samuel asked. "Saw him on TV last week. Last day?" "Some press conference about police reform." Aaron nodded. "He's doing good work. You must be proud." "I am." Aaron picked up his items. "Have a blessed day, Samuel." "You too, my friend." Outside, Aaron's phone buzzed. He pulled it from his pocket. A text message from Julian. "Dad, tried calling. Call me back when you can. Important." Aaron read the message twice. His thumb hovered over the call button. Important. What did that mean? Was Julian okay? Was something wrong? But then doubt crept in. Julian was busy. He was always busy. If it was truly urgent, he would have called again. Left a voicemail. Aaron silenced the phone, slipped it back in his pocket. He would call later, after he got home, after he had his coffee and read his paper. There was always later. 11 blocks away, a patrol car sat idling on Madison Street. Officer Derek Holloway gripped the steering wheel. His knuckles were white. His jaw was clenched so tight his teeth ached. He was 38 years old, 11 years on the Baltimore Police Department, 4 complaints for excessive force in his file. All 4 ruled unfounded. The system protected its own. His partner sat in the passenger seat. Officer Tanya Williams, 29 years old, 3 weeks assigned to Holloway's unit. She had already written 2 internal memos about his conduct. Both were under review, which meant both would disappear. Williams watched Holloway from the corner of her eye. She didn't like him, didn't trust him. She had heard the stories, seen the way he talked to suspects. But she was new, and he had 11 years. Seniority mattered, complaints didn't. Holloway checked his phone. An email from his divorce attorney. Patricia had filed the papers 4 months ago. Said he had changed. Said he scared her now. Said she didn't recognize the man she had married. Custody hearing next week. She wanted full custody of the kids. His kids. He deleted the email without reading it. "Everything okay?" Williams asked. "Mind your business." She fell silent, looked out the window. The radio crackled. Dispatch. "All units, report of a suspicious person, Garrison Avenue near the bus stop, black male, elderly, loitering." Loitering. Standing while black. Holloway's lips curled into something ugly, not quite a smile. "Let's go see what we got." Williams frowned. The call said he was just standing there, probably waiting for the bus. Holloway turned to look at her. His eyes were cold, empty. "And I said, let's go." He hit the gas. The patrol car lurched forward. Williams felt something twist in her stomach. Dread. Premonition. She didn't know what was coming, but she knew it wouldn't be good. The suspicious person was Aaron Elijah Davis. He had been waiting at the bus stop for 12 minutes. The number 27 was running late. It often did. He stood quietly, newspaper under his arm, army cap on his head, minding his own business. He had no idea that in the next 30 minutes his life would change forever. And 22 miles across town, his son Julian was in a meeting about police reform legislation. His phone would buzz soon. A news alert. He would ignore it. The patrol car pulled up to the bus stop at 4:52 p.m. Golden hour light stretched across Garrison Avenue. The sun hung low, painting everything in shades of amber and orange. Long shadows fell across the pavement. Aaron stood alone at the bench. Patient. Still. His newspaper folded under his arm. He noticed the patrol car immediately. Hard not to. The way it slowed. The way it angled toward him. 68 years of being black in America had taught him what that meant. He kept his hands visible, stayed calm, breathed slowly. Officer Holloway stepped out first. Mirrored sunglasses despite the fading light. Chest puffed out. Thumbs hooked in his belt. He walked like a man looking for a fight. Williams followed. Reluctant. Her hand rested near her radio, not her weapon. The radio. She was already thinking about the report she might have to file. "Sir," Holloway's voice was loud, aggressive. "What are you doing here?" Aaron turned slowly, made no sudden movements, kept his hands where they could be seen. "Waiting for the bus, officer." Simple, polite, non-threatening. "You got ID?" Aaron knew his rights. In Maryland, you are not legally required to show identification to police unless you are being detained for a specific crime. Every black man in America knows this law. Every black man in America also knows what happens when you cite it. "May I ask why you need it, sir?" Holloway stepped closer. Way too close, invading space, asserting dominance. "Because I asked." Aaron nodded slowly. "Don't escalate. Don't argue. Get through this alive." "I'm going to reach for my wallet now." "I'm reaching slowly. It's in my jacket pocket." He narrated every movement. Survival technique. "Let them know exactly what you're doing so they can't claim surprise." Holloway's hand moved to his taser. Williams tensed, but said nothing. Aaron pulled out a worn leather wallet, brown, cracked with age. He had carried it for 20 years. He handed over a card. Holloway looked at it. His sneer deepened. "What's this?" "This isn't a real ID." "It's my military identification, officer. I served 22 years in the United States Army." For a moment, something flickered across Holloway's face. Aaron thought maybe, just maybe, that would change things. It didn't. "I don't care if you served 100 years. He threw the ID card on the ground. It landed in a small puddle. Aaron's name and photo staring up at the gray sky. pick it up. Aaron's jaw tightened, but he kept his voice steady. Officer, I don't understand what I've done wrong. I said pick it up. Aaron bent slowly. His hip screamed. His knees protested. 68 years old. Bad hip. Shrapnel still lodged near his spine. His fingers reached for the card. Holloway shoved him. Hard. Aaron stumbled forward. His balance failed. He caught himself before he fell, but barely. His army cap tumbled from his head, landed in the gutter. Williams stepped forward. Derek, shut up! Her mouth closed. She stepped back. Aaron straightened himself. Slowly. Painfully. His dignity somehow still intact. He didn't raise his voice, didn't curse, didn't threaten. Sir, I don't want any trouble. I'm just trying to go home. Holloway moved closer, his face inches from Aaron's. You don't get to tell me what you want. Across the street, Dorothy Pemberton was walking home from the grocery store. 2 bags in her hands, bread, milk, the essentials. She heard raised voices, saw the patrol car, saw the old man, saw Aaron. Her heart stopped. She set down her grocery bags, pulled out her phone. Her hands trembled as she opened the camera app. She pressed record. She had no idea that this 4-minute video would change history. Turn around. Holloway's voice was pure authority, pure threat. Hands behind your back. Aaron didn't move. What am I being arrested for? Resisting. I haven't resisted anything, officer. I've cooperated fully. You're resisting right now. Holloway grabbed Aaron's arm, twisted it behind his back with brutal force. Aaron cried out, My shoulder! I have an old injury. Should have thought about that before you decided to be difficult. Williams watched, frozen, afraid. She had seen this before. 3 weeks on this assignment. She had seen Holloway do this twice already. Both times nothing happened. No consequences, no reports filed. She knew what was coming next. And she did nothing. That choice would haunt her for years. Holloway swept Aaron's legs out from under him. The 68-year-old man had no chance. His body crumpled. His head struck the concrete with a sound that Dorothy Pemberton would hear in her nightmares. Wet. Cracking. Final. Blood began to pool beneath his skull, dark red spreading across gray pavement. Aaron lay on the ground, eyes open, staring at nothing, confused. Blood trickling from his forehead. I can't. Holloway placed his boot on the back of Aaron's neck, pressed down. Stay down, boy. He leaned closer, spoke directly into Aaron's ear. You people never learn, do you? Boy. A word with 400 years of weight, spoken to a 68-year-old man who had served his country for 2 decades, who had bled for the flag, who had earned 3 Purple Hearts, called boy by a man half his age, a man who had never sacrificed anything. Dorothy Pemberton sobbed as she filmed, her hands shaking so badly the footage was blurred. Oh my God, Aaron! Aaron's eyes fluttered. The world was going dark. Sounds became distant, muffled. Then his eyes closed. Williams screamed. He's unconscious! Derek, he's unconscious! Holloway removed his boot, finally, slowly, casually. He's faking it. But Aaron Elijah Davis was not faking it. Blood continued to pool beneath his head. His breathing grew shallow, his body went still. He was slipping into a coma. And 22 miles away, his son Julian was checking his phone. A news alert. Breaking. Police incident reported in East Baltimore. Julian swiped it away. He was in a meeting, an important meeting, about police reform. The irony would destroy him later. The ambulance arrived at 5:14 p.m., 22 minutes after Aaron's head hit the concrete. 22 minutes of him lying there, bleeding, dying. Sirens wailed, red and blue lights flashed. Neighbors emerged from their houses to watch, to whisper, to wonder. EMTs rushed to Aaron's body with practiced urgency. Williams met them halfway. Head trauma. He hit the pavement hard. 68 years old. War veteran. She was talking fast. Too fast. Guilt in every syllable. One EMT checked vitals while the other prepared a stretcher. The first EMT's face went pale. BP is dropping. Significant blood loss. We need to move. Now. They worked quickly. Professionally. They had seen injuries like this before. They knew the odds weren't good. Aaron was loaded onto the stretcher. Unconscious. Barely breathing. Tubes and monitors attached to his fragile body. His army cap still lay in the gutter. Blood-stained. Abandoned. Like trash. Holloway leaned against the patrol car. Arms crossed. Expression bored. He picked at something under his fingernail. No concern. No guilt. No humanity. As the ambulance pulled away, sirens screaming, Holloway pushed himself off the car, walked slowly to where Aaron had fallen. He bent down, picked up Aaron's veteran ID from the puddle, looked at it for a long moment. Master Sergeant Aaron E. Davis, United States Army. Service dates, 1969 to 1991. Holloway's lip curled. Then he slipped the ID into his pocket. Evidence. Disappearing. Standard procedure for a man who had done this before. Dorothy Pemberton approached Officer Williams, her phone clutched to her chest like a shield. I recorded everything. Williams turned. Her face was ashen. Everything, Dorothy repeated. That man is my neighbor. He's a good man, the best man I know. He served this country. He served it proudly. Tears streamed down her weathered cheeks. How could you let this happen? Williams had no answer. She had asked herself the same question, would ask it every day for the rest of her life. She glanced at Holloway. He wasn't paying attention. He was typing something on his phone, probably already working on his version of events. Williams leaned close to Dorothy, dropped her voice to a whisper. Don't delete it. Dorothy blinked. What? The video. Whatever you do, don't delete it. Don't let anyone take your phone. Don't talk to anyone official without a lawyer. She straightened up, walked away. Dorothy stood frozen on the sidewalk. She looked at her phone. The video was 4 minutes and 37 seconds long. She understood now. Something was very wrong, something beyond what she had witnessed, and she was holding the only evidence that could prove it. Aaron arrived at Johns Hopkins Hospital at 5:41 p.m. The emergency room erupted into controlled chaos the moment his stretcher came through the doors. 68-year-old male, blunt force trauma to the head, unresponsive, BP dropping. Doctors swarmed, nurses ran, monitors beeped in frantic rhythms. Dr. Evelyn Moore was the trauma surgeon on call. 20 years of experience in one of the best hospitals in the country. She had seen everything. Gunshot wounds, stabbings, car accidents, industrial accidents, but this made her sick. She examined the wound, the bruising, the damage. This man has a previous TBI from military service, she announced to her team. His brain is already compromised. Any additional swelling could be fatal. She paused, took a breath, fought to maintain professional composure. Whoever did this... She stopped. Started again. Get me neurology. Now. Aaron was rushed into surgery. The next 3 hours were a battle between medical science and mortality. Surgeons worked to relieve pressure on his brain, to stop the bleeding, to save what could be saved. At 9:17 p.m., Aaron was moved to the ICU. Stable. Barely. Diagnosis: traumatic brain injury, subdural hematoma, severe swelling of the brain. He was placed in a medically induced coma to give his brain time to heal, if it could heal. Tubes covered his body, Monitors beeped in steady rhythm. Machines breathed for him. The only signs of life were electronic. The hospital tried to contact next of kin. A nurse found Aaron's wallet among his personal effects. Inside was a worn piece of paper, handwritten. Julian Davis, son, and a phone number. The nurse dialed. Voicemail. She tried again. Voicemail. Third time. Finally, an answer. This is Julian Davis. Mr. Davis, I'm calling from Johns Hopkins Hospital. You're listed as emergency contact for Aaron Davis. Silence on the other end. Sir? Are you there? Yes. Julian's voice was tight, controlled. What happened? Your father was brought in about 2 hours ago. He's in critical condition. Head trauma. What happened? Julian repeated. More urgent now. The police report says he was resisting arrest. Sir, I really think you should come. The line went dead. Julian stood in his office, frozen. The phone still pressed to his ear, even though the call had ended. Resisting arrest. His father, Aaron Elijah Davis, 68 years old, bad hip, arthritic knees, a man who said sir and ma'am to grocery store clerks. Resisting arrest. It didn't make sense. Nothing made sense. And then, slowly, horribly, it did. Julian had spent 3 years as district attorney prosecuting police misconduct cases. He knew the language. He knew what resisting arrest really meant. It meant they beat him. His hands began to shake. His vision blurred. For a moment, he couldn't breathe. Then something shifted. The shock crystallized into something harder, colder. His jaw set, his spine straightened. The politician vanished. The lawyer vanished. The sun emerged. Cancel everything. His aide appeared in the doorway. Sir, you're 7 o'clock with the mayor. I said, cancel everything. Julian grabbed his coat, walked past his aide without another word. He drove to Johns Hopkins at 90 miles per hour. Ran 3 red lights. Didn't care. Let them give him a ticket. Let them try to stop him. All he could think about was the text message. Dad, tried calling. Call me back when you can. Important. His father never called back. Because his father was lying in a hospital bed, fighting for his life. Because some cop had beaten a 68-year-old veteran for the crime of waiting for a bus. Julian arrived at the hospital at 6:48 p.m. He burst through the ICU doors. Didn't stop at the nurse's station. Didn't wait for permission. He found his father's room, stopped in the doorway, and his heart broke. Aaron lay in the bed, small, fragile, broken, tubes everywhere, machines beeping, his face swollen and bruised, his head bandaged. This was not the man who had carried Julian on his shoulders as a child, not the man who had taught him to throw a football, not the man who had stood proud at his graduation. This was a victim. Julian walked slowly to the bedside. His hand trembled as he reached out, touched his father's arm. Dad. His voice cracked. I'm here. I'm here now. Aaron didn't respond. The machines beeped on. Steady. Indifferent. Julian collapsed into the chair beside the bed. He didn't cry. Not yet. He was too angry to cry. He held his father's hand. Cold. Limp. And he made a silent promise. Whoever did this would pay. He sat there for 3 hours, didn't make a single phone call, didn't answer a single text, just sat with his father, waiting, praying. At 9:15 p.m., Dr. Moore entered the room. She recognized Julian immediately. Everyone in Baltimore knew his face. Mr. Davis, I'm Dr. Moore. I operated on your father. Julian looked up, eyes red, face drawn. How is he? Dr. Moore closed the door, chose her words carefully. Your father suffered significant trauma. The primary injury is consistent with a high-impact fall onto concrete. She paused. But there's more. Bruising on his neck consistent with sustained pressure. His shoulder was dislocated. There are abrasions on his wrists that suggest he was restrained with excessive force. Julian's hands curled into fists. What are you telling me? Dr. Moore met his eyes. Doctor to district attorney, human to human. I'm telling you this wasn't a fall. This was a beating. Julian stood slowly, his body coiled with barely contained rage. The police report says he was resisting arrest. I know. Dr. Moore shook her head. I've treated a lot of patients in 20 years, Mr. Davis. I've seen what resisting arrest looks like, and I've seen what a beating looks like. She pointed toward Aaron's bed. That man didn't resist anything. Julian stared at his father. The bandages, the bruises, the tubes. Then he turned back to Dr. Moore. I need you to preserve everything. Every photograph, every scan, every note. Document everything in exact detail. Of course. For the insurance claim? Julian's voice dropped to ice. No. For the criminal case I'm about to open. At 9:38 p.m., Dorothy Pemberton sat alone in her living room. The television was off. The house was silent. Her phone lay on the coffee table. The video still saved. 4 minutes and 37 seconds that could change everything. She had watched it 9 times since coming home. Cried every time. Aaron's face, the boot on his neck, the blood pooling beneath his head. Stay down, boy. She couldn't get the words out of her head. Her hands hovered over her laptop keyboard. Facebook was open on the screen. Should she post it? Could she? What would happen if she did? What would happen if she didn't? Aaron was her friend, her neighbor for 30 years. He had fixed her gutters every spring, never took a dime. He had brought her soup when she had the flu, had sat with her when her husband passed, had been one of the pallbearers at the funeral. He was the finest man she knew, and they had beaten him like an animal. Dorothy began to type, slowly, one finger at a time. This is my neighbor, Aaron Davis, a veteran, a good man, the best man I've ever known. Watch what they did to him. She attached the video, closed her eyes, said a prayer, and pressed post. The video began to spread. 10 views, 50, 200, 1,000. By midnight, it had 2 million views. By morning, 14 million. Comments flooded in from around the world. That's someone's father. He served this country and this is what he gets? This is what we've been telling you. This is what we've been telling you. Name the officer. The hashtag #justice. For Aaron Davis began trending. First in Baltimore, then nationwide. Within 12 hours, internet investigators had identified Officer Derek Holloway. They found his previous complaints, his disciplinary record, his social media posts, screenshots spread like wildfire, tone-deaf jokes about thugs, thin blue line imagery, a Confederate flag in his profile picture from 2017. The internet had found its villain, but still, no one knew the connection. No one knew that the old man in the video, the veteran with blood pooling beneath his head, was the father of the district attorney. The one person in Baltimore with the power to bring Holloway down. The storm was coming, and Derek Holloway had no idea what he had done. Baltimore Police Headquarters, 2 days after the incident. Captain Raymond Briggs stood at a podium outside the building. 55 years old, gray hair, weathered face, 28 years on the force. He had survived 3 police scandals in his career, navigated departmental politics like a chess grandmaster. He knew how to manage a crisis, but this was different. Cameras everywhere, national media, Protesters gathering across the street with signs. Justice for Aaron. Prosecute Holloway. Black Lives Matter. Briggs adjusted his tie, cleared his throat. We are aware of the video circulating online. We take these allegations very seriously. We are conducting a thorough internal investigation. Internal investigation? A reporter shouted. You're investigating yourselves? Briggs held up his hand. Officer Holloway has been placed on administrative leave pending... Administrative leave? With pay? That is standard procedure. Captain, the victim is in a coma. Briggs retreated toward the door. No further questions at this time. He disappeared inside. The reporters shouted after him. The protesters' chants grew louder. Standard procedure. The same two words used to dismiss 96% of excessive force complaints nationwide. The same two words that protected cops who beat old men into comas. Inside the station, Derek Holloway sat in a small office on the third floor. His union representative, a heavy man in an expensive suit, sat beside him. Holloway was scrolling through his phone, reading the comments under the viral video. His face showed no concern, no guilt, just irritation. This is ridiculous, he muttered. I did my job. He was resisting. Don't worry, the union rep said. This will blow over. It always does. 14 million views. People calling me a murderer. I didn't even kill him. Doesn't matter. The union will protect you. We've handled worse. Holloway smirked. Yeah, you're right. He had been through this before. Complaints, investigations, angry headlines. Nothing ever stuck. He had 11 years of nothing ever sticking. He was untouchable. The door opened. Another officer entered, young, nervous, his face pale. Derek, the DA's office just called. Holloway didn't look up from his phone. So? They're opening an independent investigation, he snorted. Of course they are. DA's always grandstanding. Election cycle politics. It'll go nowhere. You don't understand. Something in the young officer's voice made Holloway finally look up. The DA, Julian Davis, he's running the investigation personally. Holloway frowned. Why would the district attorney handle some random assault case himself? The officer swallowed. His Adam's apple bobbed. Derek. The victim's name. It's Aaron Davis. Silence. The smirk faded from Holloway's face. Davis? The DA's father. The officer's voice was barely above a whisper. You beat the district attorney's father into a coma. For a moment, nobody moved. Then the color drained from Holloway's face. All of it. He went from ruddy to ghost white in seconds. His phone slipped from his fingers, clattered to the floor. The screen cracked. He didn't notice. That's not possible. It's confirmed. Aaron Elijah Davis, father of Julian Elijah Davis, the DA. The union rep stood up slowly. His face had changed too, no longer confident, no longer reassuring. We need to call a lawyer, a real lawyer, now. Holloway couldn't speak. His mouth opened and closed. No words came out. For 11 years, he had abused his power without consequence. He had beaten suspects, planted evidence, lied on reports. He had done it because he could, because no one stopped him, because the system protected him. Now he had beaten the wrong man. The one man in Baltimore whose son could destroy him completely. The realization hit him like a physical blow. His career, his pension, his freedom, gone. All of it gone. 2 days later, City Hall, press conference room. The room was packed, standing room only. Every major news network, international correspondents, photographers jostling for position. Julian Davis stood at the podium, calm, composed, devastating. He wore a dark suit, perfect fit, no tie. The absence was deliberate. This wasn't about politics. This was personal. Behind him stood the seal of Baltimore City. Next to him, a photograph of his father in military uniform. Young, proud, American. "Good morning." His voice was steady, strong, but beneath it, steel. "I'm here to announce that my office has opened a criminal investigation into the assault of Aaron Elijah Davis." He paused. "A 68-year-old veteran of the United States Army. A man who served his country for 22 years. A man who earned 3 Purple Hearts defending the freedoms that we often take for granted." The room was silent, hanging on every word. "I want to be transparent about something." Julian looked directly into the camera, into millions of homes across America. "Aaron Davis is my father." Gasps rippled through the room. Cameras flashed like lightning. Reporters shouted questions. Julian raised his hand. The room fell silent. "Some will say I should recuse myself. Some will say this is a conflict of interest. Some will say a son cannot fairly prosecute the man who hurt his father." He nodded slowly. "They're right." Another wave of murmurs. "That's why I'm not prosecuting this case myself." He gestured to his right. A woman stepped forward. Monica Ashford Hayes, 52 years old, former federal prosecutor, known as the Hammer in legal circles. Former U.S. Attorney Monica Ashford Hayes will lead the criminal prosecution. She has full authority, full resources, full independence from my office. Ashford Hayes took her place beside Julian. Her presence commanded respect. "I will serve only as a witness, a son testifying about his father, nothing more." Julian turned back to the cameras. "But before I step aside, I want to say something, not as district attorney, as a black man, as a son." The room went still. For 30 years, for 300 years, black men in this country have watched their fathers, their sons, their brothers be brutalized by people who swore an oath to protect them. His voice grew stronger. "We've been told to trust the system. We've been told to wait for justice. We've been told that things are getting better." He shook his head. "My father trusted the system. He served the system. He wore the uniform of this country for 22 years, and the system repaid him by putting a boot on his neck." Julian's jaw tightened. "I am the system. I am the district attorney of this city, and I'm telling you today, I'm telling you on national television, the system failed my father. It failed Aaron Davis, and I will not stand here and pretend otherwise." Silence. Total. Complete. Then Monica Ashford Hayes stepped forward. "My office has obtained Officer Williams's body camera footage. We have Mrs. Dorothy Pemberton's civilian recording. We have medical documentation from Johns Hopkins Hospital. We have the testimony of 7 witnesses." She looked directly at the cameras. "The evidence is overwhelming, and I promise you this, justice will be served." Julian stepped back to the podium. "One final thing." He reached into his jacket pocket, pulled out a faded army cap, his father's cap, worn soft from decades of use. The room went silent again. "This cap was on my father's head when Officer Holloway threw him to the ground. It was lying in the gutter when the ambulance arrived." He held it gently, reverently. Then he reached into another pocket, pulled out a small card, held it up for the cameras to see. "This is my father's military identification. Officer Holloway took it from the scene. We recovered it from his locker this morning. The ID was worn, bent, blood-stained. Master Sergeant Aaron Elijah Davis, 22 years of service, 3 Purple Hearts, Bronze Star, Army Commendation Medal." Julian's voice cracked, just slightly, just enough to be human. And a son who let 6 months go by without a phone call. He lowered the ID, looked down for a moment. I can't undo what happened. I can't take back the months I was too busy to visit. The calls I didn't make. The dinners I missed. He looked up again. But I can do this. I can stand here today and promise that what happened to my father will never happen again. Not in this city. Not on my watch. His eyes found the camera, found the lens, found America. That's my promise, that's my job, and that's what I'm going to do. The room erupted, questions shouted, cameras flashing, but Julian was already walking away, toward the door, toward his car, toward the hospital, toward his father. The blood-stained ID card would become the most shared image of the year. Julian's words, "I can't undo what happened," would be quoted in 3 Supreme Court briefs on police reform. And Derek Holloway? His world collapsed completely. The morning after the press conference, he turned himself in. He walked into the police station, the same station where he had worked for 11 years, in handcuffs. Head down, cameras everywhere. The perp walk was broadcast live on every major network. He was charged with second-degree assault, misconduct in office, civil rights violations, evidence tampering. If convicted on all counts, up to 15 years in federal prison. His wife's attorney filed emergency papers for full custody, granted within 48 hours. His union representative stopped returning his calls. Officer Tanya Williams was granted immunity in exchange for her testimony. She told investigators everything, every detail of that day, every word Holloway spoke, every action he took. And then she told them about the other incidents, the 4 previous complaints that had been buried, the 3 other black men Holloway had beaten, the evidence that had disappeared, the reports that had been falsified. Internal affairs files were unsealed. Headlines exploded. Pattern of abuse, Holloway's decade of violence. 4 previous victims come forward. Captain Briggs knew and covered it up. Captain Briggs resigned within a week. No pension, no ceremony, just a quiet exit through a back door. 3 other officers were suspended pending investigation. The Baltimore Police Department announced sweeping reforms, mandatory body cameras, independent oversight board, 0 tolerance for excessive force. Too late for Aaron Davis, but maybe not too late for the next Aaron Davis. 8 days. For 8 days, Aaron Davis lay in that hospital bed, unconscious, machines breathing for him, tubes feeding him, monitors tracking every heartbeat. For 8 days, Julian sat beside him. Every day, every night. He read aloud from newspapers, talked about the weather, told stories from childhood, memories he had forgotten he had. "Remember when you taught me to ride a bike, Dad? I was 6. I fell about 100 times, scraped up both knees. But you wouldn't let me quit. You said, what did you say?" He smiled at the memory. "You said, a Davis doesn't quit. A Davis gets back up." And I did. I got back up. Because of you. The monitors beeped steadily. "They passed a law yesterday, Dad. City Council voted unanimously. They're calling it the Aaron Davis Act." He held his father's hand, cold, limp, but still there, still alive. Mandatory body cameras for all officers, tamper-proof, automatic upload to independent servers. You know how long we've been fighting for that? No response, just the beeping of machines. 3 years, Dad. 3 years of testimony and lobbying and political games. And they passed it in one day. Because of you. Julian leaned closer. "You always said one person could make a difference. Guess you were right." On the 8th day, something changed. Julian was reading from that morning's newspaper. Another article about the case, another editorial calling for reform. He felt it before he saw it. A twitch. His father's hand moving in his. Julian froze, leaned forward. "Dad?" Dad, can you hear me? Aaron's eyes fluttered, lids heavy, struggling. Then, slowly, painfully, they opened. Gray light filtered through the hospital window, but to Julian, it was the most beautiful sunrise he had ever seen. Julian? The word was weak, hoarse, barely a whisper. But it was his father's voice, his father's eyes. His father. Julian's composure shattered. 3 days of holding it together. 3 days of being the district attorney, the man in charge, the son who had to be strong. He broke. Tears streamed down his face. He grabbed his father's hand with both of his, held on like he would never let go. I'm here, Dad. I'm right here. Aaron blinked, confused, looking around the room, the machines, the tubes, the unfamiliar ceiling. What happened? You're in the hospital. You're safe now. Everything is okay. Hospital? Aaron's brow furrowed, memory returning in fragments. The bus stop. The officer. His hand moved weakly toward his head. He hit me? Yes, Dad. But it's over now. He's in custody. He's going to prison. Aaron processed this slowly. Then his eyes widened. My cap. Where's my cap? Julian laughed. A real laugh. Full of relief and joy and love. Right here, Dad. He reached beside the bed, picked up the army cap. It had been cleaned, the blood stains removed, but still worn soft from decades of use. He placed it gently in his father's hands. Aaron clutched it to his chest, his eyes closed. A small smile crossed his weathered face. Your mother gave me this cap. Did I ever tell you that? No, Dad, you never did. 1969. Right before my first deployment. She said, his voice caught. She said as long as I wore it, a part of her would always be with me. Keep me safe. Julian wiped his eyes. It kept you safe this time, too. They sat in silence for a moment. Father and son, together. Then Aaron spoke again. You came. Of course I came. You've been busy, your job, the cases. Julian shook his head. None of that matters, Dad. I should have come sooner. I should have called more. I should have... Aaron's grip tightened, weak but firm. You're here now. 3 words. Simple. Powerful. Forgiveness offered without being asked. Julian nodded, swallowed hard. Yeah, Dad. I'm here now. The trial lasted 11 days. The prosecution called 14 witnesses. The defense had little to offer. Officer Tanya Williams testified, her voice steady, her conscience finally clear. He told me to shut up. He said Mr. Davis was resisting, but Mr. Davis wasn't resisting. He was cooperating. He was polite. He said sir and officer in every sentence. She looked at the jury. He was a gentleman, and Officer Holloway beat him for it. Dorothy Pemberton took the stand, 74 years old, trembling but resolute. I've known Aaron Davis for 30 years. He is the finest man I've ever met. He fixed my gutters, shoveled my walk, sat with me when my husband died. She wiped her eyes. What that officer did, it was evil. Pure evil. Dr. Evelyn Moore presented the medical evidence. Clinical. Devastating. The injuries are consistent with a sustained assault, multiple blows, sustained pressure on the neck. This was not a fall during arrest. She pointed to an image on the screen. The boot print on his neck. That doesn't happen from standard procedure. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. At 3:42 p.m. on February 18th, they returned. The courtroom fell silent. Holloway sat at the defense table. Pale, thin, defeated. On the charge of second-degree assault, how does the jury find? Guilty. On the charge of misconduct in office? Guilty. On the charge of civil rights violation? Guilty. On the charge of evidence tampering? Guilty. Holloway lowered his head. His shoulders shook. Whether from tears or shock, no one could tell. Derek Holloway was sentenced to 8 years in federal prison, eligible for parole in 5. The man who had believed he was untouchable would spend nearly a decade behind bars. Justice. Finally. 6 months after the trial. Aaron's house looked different now. Fresh paint on the porch. New gutters that Julian had hired someone to install. The American flag still flying. Aaron sat in his favorite chair, army cap on his head, watching children play in the street. The physical scars had healed. The limp was worse than before, might always be worse. But he could walk. He could live. He could sit on his porch and drink coffee and watch the world go by. The emotional scars were different. Some nights he woke up gasping, the weight of a boot on his neck, the taste of concrete, the sound of laughter. But each night, the dreams came less often. Each morning, the memories faded a little more. A car pulled up to the curb. Julian stepped out. No suit today. Jeans, a sweatshirt. He carried a bag of groceries. This was their routine now. Every Sunday. "You didn't have to come," Aaron said. "I know." Julian climbed the porch steps, sat in the chair beside his father. "I wanted to." They sat in comfortable silence, father and son, watching the same sky. "You know what I keep thinking about?" Aaron said. "What?" "That text you sent, the one I didn't answer. Right before—" Julian looked at his father, surprised. "You remember that?" "I remember everything from that day." Aaron paused. "I remember thinking, I'll call him later, after my coffee, after the bus ride. There's always later." His voice grew quiet. "But there isn't. There isn't always later." Julian nodded slowly. "I know, Dad. I think about that too." "What did you want to tell me? In the text, you said it was important." Julian was quiet for a long moment. "I wanted to say I was sorry. For the missed visits, the unanswered calls, for being so busy with my career that I forgot what mattered." Aaron reached over, gripped his son's hand. "You're here now. That's what matters." They sat together, the sun setting over Baltimore, golden light washing over the porch. Dorothy Pemberton walked over from next door, white casserole dish in her hands. "Made too much again," she said with a smile. "You boys hungry?" Aaron laughed, a real laugh. "Always, Dot, always, Dot." And the Aaron Davis case changed Baltimore, but its impact spread far beyond city limits. The Aaron Davis Act, mandatory body cameras with tamper-proof technology, was passed in Maryland within 4 months. 12 other states have since adopted similar legislation. Excessive force complaints dropped 34% in participating jurisdictions. Officer convictions for misconduct increased 28%. Civilian recording laws were strengthened in 23 states. Dorothy Pemberton's 4-minute video didn't just save Aaron Davis, it may have saved countless lives. She received a Community Service Award the following spring. She looked embarrassed accepting it. "I just did what any neighbor should do," she said. "I saw something wrong, and I recorded the truth." Officer Tanya Williams resigned from the Baltimore Police Department. She now works as a community liaison, training officers in de-escalation techniques, speaking at academies about the cost of silence. When asked why she finally spoke up, she said, "Because silence is complicity. I was silent too long. 3 weeks. 3 weeks I watched and said nothing. I won't make that mistake again, and I won't let anyone else make it either." And Aaron Davis? He still wakes up at 5 in the morning, still wears his army cap, still says sir and ma'am to everyone he meets, When asked what he wants people to take from his story, he said this: "I served my country for 22 years because I believed in something. I believed that every person, no matter their color, no matter their rank, deserves to be treated with dignity." He paused, looked forward. That badge didn't give that man power over me. It gave him responsibility to protect me. He forgot that. A lot of people forget that. A small smile crossed his face. "I hope this story helps them remember." Then he added, "And if you see something wrong, record it. Speak up. Don't wait. Don't think someone else will handle it. Don't tell yourself there's always later." His voice grew soft. Because sometimes, later never comes. Julian Davis visits his father every Sunday now. He cleared his calendar, canceled the meetings, rearranged his life. Some things can't wait. They sit on that porch together, father and son, making up for lost time, building new memories to replace the ones they missed. One recording changed everything. One voice can too. If this story moved you, don't just watch. Share it. Not for likes, not for views. Share it because Aaron Davis's story is happening right now. Today, this minute, to someone's father, someone's brother, someone's neighbor. Every day, people are abused by those who hold power over them. Every day, witnesses stay silent because they think their voice doesn't matter. Because they think someone else will speak up. Because they think there's always later. There isn't always later. Your phone is a tool for justice. Your voice is a weapon against tyranny. Your choice to speak up or stay silent could determine whether someone lives or dies. The next Aaron Davis might be someone you know, someone you love, someone standing at a bus stop right now, wondering why a patrol car is slowing down. What will you do? Will you record? Will you speak? Will you stand up? Or will you walk away and tell yourself there's always later? The Aaron Davis Foundation now supports veteran victims of police violence. Legal aid, medical care, counseling services. 100% of donations go directly to victims and their families. Know your rights. Document injustice. Speak truth to power. Justice isn't something we wait for. It's something we build. One witness at a time. One voice at a time. One choice at a time. This story is dedicated to the 1.1 million black veterans who served their country and deserve to be served in return, and to everyone who has ever been told to stay down. Get up, like, comment, subscribe, share. Because silence is complicity, and the next Aaron Davis is counting on you.